Everyone has a slightly different arm path. Everyone hands separate slightly different to start their hand path. But ultimately, everyone is getting to very similar checkpoints in their arm path along the way. And that first checkpoint that we're going to want to look at is the moment that our front foot gets into the ground at foot strike. So we got 4 guys here that all have drastically different arm paths, are drastically different statures. We got starters, we got closers. We got guys who have had Tommy John. We've got guys who have not had Tommy John. All different sorts of things here in the mix. And what we're going to notice is as these guys flow through their delivery, that the body needs to flow with the arm. And once our front foot gets down into the ground, it's time for the upper body to begin its throw, which means our arm needs to be loaded up and ready to throw when the front foot gets into the ground. And what a throwing or a ready throwing position looks like for the arm at the moment of our front foot getting into the ground is this 90 degree angles that we see in our elbow and our armpit. So we look at Class A and we can see that 90 degree bend in the elbow and 90 degree bend at the armpit. And then same thing with Garrett Cole and with Dylan Cease. We can see some guys have that 90-90 of the arm loaded further back into their scapula, their shoulder blade. So the righty's back towards first base, where others are more straight in line with their body at this point in time. But we can see everybody's shoulders coming through are right at the target, and that throwing arm is still loaded up. It has not begun to rotate through because front foot gets in the ground, then it's time to throw. So seeing this good 90-90 with our head looking over our shoulders tells us at this moment at which it's about to become time to throw, our arm is in a position to throw. Now, we may have noticed as we were going really slow through there that first time that each of these guys have drastically different arm paths to get to the same or very, very similar position here. If we look and focus just on Ben Joyce here in the top left, we will notice that his arm very quickly goes from falling out of the glove to kind of going back towards his back foot, and now he's beginning to load it up. Okay, and now it's loaded up and ready to go in the 90-90. So if we do that again, we can see it's falling out of the glove and coming up, loading up, staying loaded up, because now it's time to throw. Guys that have this type of arm path here, where they get in trouble is at the moment of foot strike, they're not in this 90 degree bend here. The hand has continued to get closer and closer to the head, and now their arm is here. So guys that have this arm coming out early and the hand kind of almost working like an hour hand on a clock. So there's like 7 o'clock, here comes 8 o'clock, then we're at 9 o'clock, up to 10, now we're at 11, and then we got to make sure when it comes time to throw that we're at this 12. A lot of times, especially with young kids who have this bigger, longer, loopier arm path, By the time they get the foot strike here, they're at 1:30, maybe even 2 o'clock. So then when they go to throw, that arm's got to flip back out of that, and then that's when you start to get that arm to cast out and around. So we can see that Joyce, obviously being an elite thrower of the baseball, has been able to get this arm to stay at that point in time. So then when we proceed out of foot strike, we can see it's the shoulders rotating forward that's laying his arm into max external rotation at the point in time where the shoulders are lined up with the target. And the only way we can get this great synchronization of the arm laying back at the moment of that chest getting to in line with the target is if it starts from this position here at foot strike. So we got a longer arm slot over here, and we'll go to a shorter arm slot over here with Dylan Cease. So we'll take that back and we'll watch Dylan take that ball out, boom, to the knee. So it's not going back. Oops, it's not going back like Joyce was as early. Now it's kind of just holding right here. And it's coming up, up, up to get to its 90-90. And so, boom. Right? So where I see guys who have this form of a very compact arm path, where I see guys that get in trouble with it, is they don't allow this. They don't allow for that initial hang and let me just gain some ground with my body down the mound before I load it back up in this tight window, right? We can have a short, compact arm, but we can't have a short, compact, fast developing arm. Because it doesn't take up a lot of distance, we're not taking up a lot of time. And this delivery takes time to develop in order to get here. So if we're short and compact and we're fast to get this elbow to bring this arm up, we're going to be struggling to not want to fire that back shoulder early because the hand got up and wanting to go, 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 go quick and early. So for guys that have compact arms, compact arm paths, we need to think about a Dylan Cease. Just we still have that bend in that elbow of whatever flexion you want it to be in, but we just kind of dead man hang it there. Just dead man hang it there for as long as you possibly can, and then once you can't dead man hang it, let it develop. So we got the short and the long. So if we kind of just do a little tracer to kind of compare those for us. Oops, that doesn't look good. Boom. Boom. To the 90-90 right there. So we got something kind of like that. And then we got Dylan Cease. Right there. So you can kind of visually see those two paths being just a little different from one another. But they both have very similar themes. But the ball's got to fall out of the glove first. And then it's coming up into that 90-90 by the time we get the foot strike. So now we can go down and look at a guy like Gerrit Cole. And just because we got those two markers up there, we'll start his as well. So there's that ball falling out of the glove, falling down that dead man hang. His hang is just a little bit more of a straighter elbow bend, and then bringing that up into his 90-90. So if we just kind of look at the overall path, it's similar, more similar to Ben Joyce's than Dylan Cease's, but we can see this little arm stroke or this little swoop of the arm is a lot more compact for Dylan Cease than it is for Ben Joyce. All right, and then we can draw some parallels between all three of them in Emmanuel Class A. And that is the length or the straightness of the arm that Ben Joyce has. Emmanuel Class A has it as well, but instead of it going back towards second base like Joyce does, Class A lets his dead hang straight on down behind his back knee there. Right, it's going straight on down back there. And then it's loading back into his back like Dylan Cease does. But Emmanuel Class A loads it into his back with a straighter arm and then loads that elbow up as he gets there. Where Dylan Cease is coming at that from more of a compact arm position, a little bit more of an elbow bend to begin with. But it's very similar in that regard. Right, so we can see how there's like that check mark like movement in Class A and Dylan Cease versus the like I don't even know what kind of shape you would call this, like a candy cane, I guess, kind of, that Gerrit Cole and Ben Joyce have. So we can see there's different arm paths, but everyone's getting to this 90-90 at the moment of foot strike. And one of the biggest things that we can see is that these paths, and if I get this out of the way so you can see that pitching rubber a little better again, their paths are very close to either the back knee, like Cease and Class A, or they're going back towards that back foot, like Cole and Joyce. But everyone is getting that arm loaded up, not just up to 90-90, but getting it loaded into their back muscles, getting it loaded up behind their head so that way it can rotate in front of the head. And what we know is all these guys, when they get their chest all the way to the target, is that the point at which they are at their most externally rotated back, externally rotated back, externally rotated back. We got to go back a little bit further for Cease. Right there, externally rotated back. And then the chest continues to go to continue to bring that arm all the way through. So we play that one more time. We'll see the arms flow into that 90-90 and then flowing out of the 90-90.